Woo! That's right. Hi, everybody. What are you doing? I'm so glad that you're here. Let's turn this music off. We'll be dancing all night in a second. There we go. Hi. 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 I have been so excited. Yes, I'm the go-go dancer for sure. The dancing queen, the disco queen of 1979. How is everyone? How are you? I'm so glad. And Shaggy's here. You can hear him. How are you? Hello, my darlings. Hi, hi. Hi, hi. We've got so much to talk about tonight. It is just been, and you know what, my darlings, I want you to do me a favor, just time out. First of all, how many? Let's keep track of the likes. Let's keep track of the likes. I have 9 likes. We have 25 people in here already. Everybody do me a favor and smash that like button, and let's keep this going. Now, the other thing I want to point out to you that our beautiful and wonderful Marie from True Oracle Tarot Psychics is in the house, and she's modding for us tonight. And I want everyone to say hi, True Oracle, or hi, Marie, or whatever you want to say. Just do me that favor and say hello. Hi, hi. There we go. So I've been really excited to see you all. We have had a wild week. Just a wild week. So many different things. In fact, to the point where I had to take some notes to share some things with you. Isn't that nice? But before we get to that, hi there, everyone. Hello, 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 my darlings. Come in. Welcome. I wish I had some tea I could offer you. Welcome, welcome. Now, I want hello, my darlings. Hello, everyone. I want, Scooby is here. I've got the whole crew. And you know, they're just like little kids. So they get in trouble when I'm live streaming. You know, like they're into things that they're not supposed to be into. You know how that is? You remember the days, I do too. Now, before we begin, I want to show everyone, because you heard me talk about my grandmother. Hold on. I should be ready. I'm just so excited. Give me a second. I'm going to get something. Hold on. I'm coming, I promise. I'll be there. I'll be there. Yes, I know it's rude to turn my back on you, and I apologize. You know these cards, and you know who they belong to. These are the Gypsy Witch playing cards that were my grandmother's. And you see this, now there's no witch, there's no gypsy, there's no, you know, I just like this little kitty right here. This little kitty, look, isn't he cute? Look, these are cute cards. They really are. They're old-fashioned. They're just really cool. Well, I'm going to show you the Zeldinator. That's right, the Zeldinators and the Tarot Crime Lab investigators are in the house. So I'm going to show you something very special to me, and I want to share this with you. Ready? This is my grandparents. This is my grandparents, and I believe that this was about 1936-ish, something like that. Grandma was 17, and my grandpa was 24. Nowadays, that would be a problem, but back then, it was the thing to do. They got married, and And this is the one that I showed you last week, was just like Claudette Colbert. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. She was the psychic extraordinaire. I'm going to tell you. Fantastic. This is the picture that I always laughed and said, I want the picture that's like Bonnie and Clyde. Isn't that, to me, is just a gas. They were standing out in front of my grandfather's barn. My grandfather was a farmer. He also worked at a factory, which was a tire company. He worked for the railroad. But I'm also going to tell you another little thing. Oh, my grandfather was an Irishman and he was a pistol. I'm telling you right now. So I'm going to tell you this. You're going to love this. There is a farm in Ohio called Malabar Farm. Malabar Farm is where a famous writer by the name of Louis Bromfield lived. He wrote Ferdinand the Bull for Disney. Not only that, Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall got married at that farm. Well, my grandparents were working at the farm. My grandfather was a farmer. My grandparents were working at the farm when Lauren Bacall and Humphrey Bogart got married there. Now, thank you so much, everyone. You're all so kind. The funny thing, the hilarious thing, is that my grandpa could not stand Lauren Bacall, because Lauren Bacall liked to use the F word as a verb and a noun and everything else. And he did not like that at all. But he loved bogey. Yes, an Irishman. I want an Irishman. But he loved bogey. And he always said that Humphrey Bogart was such a gentleman. And the one thing, when they were staying there, Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall, when they got married, Louis Bromfield, the owner of the farm, would get everybody up at the crack of dawn and make them go out and farm. Well, Bogey was the first one to get up and go out. And my grandfather and him wrote for a little while. I still wish I had those letters. They're gone now. But they wrote back and forth. They kept in touch. But he could not stand Lauren Bacall. Now, my grandfather and Bogey were kind of the same age, a little bit. He was a little older than my grandfather. But he would get out. Grandpa said that he would get out and he would work hard. Dog mom, yeah. And then later on in years, I worked at Malabar Farm and had my grandpa there, and I took care of the horses. It became a state farm after Louis Bromfield passed away, and he left it to the state. So that is a funny thing. The other thing is, my grandfather was what they called a water witch. Now, there was no witch to it, but that's just an unfortunate name for it. But he would take two willow, and in Ohio is where it is. There's all kinds of willows around, and he would take two willow twigs, and he would use those. And he found the majority of the water wells around in that county, and especially the ones on Malabar Farm. So I always thought that was a wonderful thing. But Louis Bromfield took a little shining to my grandmother. And Louis was known to be a ladies' man. Now, my grandmother didn't have anything to do with him, but this one Christmas, Louis Bromfield got my grandmother a fox stole. Yeah. Oh, that burned my grandpa up. Oh my goodness. So my mom was little, kindergarten, when they lived there. So anyway, that's the story, and we've got so much more to talk about. But anyway, that's what the story of Grandma and Grandpa, and I wanted to show that to you. She was the psychic, and I'm going to tell you, good. Oh my gosh, she could look at people. And one of these days, we'll have just a little thing on talking about my grandmother and telling all of the psychic stories. She's the one that I went to the house in Cleveland with when she was doing the paranormal investigation. So thank you so much for that. And thank you for your kind comments. But I wanted to share a little bit about that because I'm always bragging about my grandma's cards and everything else. Now, my dears, we've got a show. We got a lot of things going on. Now, I was going to talk about Karen Reed first, but I'm going to talk about Carly Gregg, and thank you so much to all of you. And by the way, if you do want a video reading, you see that little QR code in the corner. Please feel free to click on that and or click in the description. All right, so now, and you can also head over to True Oracle and you can see my bio. I'm an extension 11 and they are here tonight and I'm just happy with it. I'm just happy with it, right? So there we go. I'm going to let that roll for a little bit while we're talking about, and thank you for Marie for putting that in. We're going to talk about Carly Gregg. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying this. I'm not a lawyer. I'm far from it. I would not make a good lawyer because I'm too opinionated. But I would want to be like AJ, Alan Jackson. He would be my lawyer wish. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a doctor. I'm not law enforcement. I'm just someone here who has an opinion. I'm not an expert, but I am an expert at reading the cards. And I share with you what the vibes are from the cards, and you're always welcome to form your own opinion. And that's just, well, the way it goes. And I'll tell you, we've got so many things going on right now that it is unbelievable how to prepare for streams like this, because we got to make sure that they're right. Now, somebody kind of jumped on me the other day and said, but Zelda, you're getting these facts wrong. You know, I'm not pretending. I am certainly not Turtle Boy. I can tell you that right now. I kudos to him. I am not. However, I like to take some of the information that I get from different things, and then we lay out the cards and we see what direction we're going. That's the idea. That's why we're here. That's why we're here, to lead us into good things, good times. Have you noticed that this true crime genre has just been like kicking up? I mean, like 5 years ago, it was the paranormal. Everything was paranormal, and I was involved, but everything was paranormal. It was this, it was that. And I think Zach with Ghost Adventures has been on, I mean, I think they're in their 27th or maybe even more seasons. But now it's gone to true crime, and you see that going into the Netflix, going into Max, going into all of these streaming services, and especially on YouTube. And quite frankly, I don't have cable television anymore. I get the true from YouTube. That's my go-to. Sometimes I go to TikTok. Sometimes I go to X, Twitter. but I don't post anything over there. I don't go to Instagram. It's all ads. You'll find my names on there, my darlings. Pardon me. It is a high pollen count these days. So, and hello, everyone. Welcome into the chat. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So I want to talk to you about Carly Gregg. This is a very sensitive subject, and I'm just going to give a little trigger warning and just say there's sensitive information, and if that's not you, just please mute. We'll get through it quickly. But this was the young girl who was 14 at the time, which was last March 19th of 2024, who unalived her mother, who had a pew-pew. And they showed this scene from a video camera everywhere. I know you've seen it. If you're seeing it, I know you've seen it. It was horrific. And I think if you've seen my video on that, the doggies were so affected, and that affected me just because you can tell the energy. I mean, my little cloud here can tell the energy if it is not good. I mean, it's for an animal, they feel that tension. They can smell it. They are very sensitive. So there were some things with the stepfather. I'm not going to go into the big story, but there were some things to the stepfather that I was not sure of. Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm not accusing anyone. This is just my opinion. But it was a little creepy. He sat in the courtroom and was making, lovey-dovey gestures to her. I love you, this sort of thing. But there's something a little creepier there, because the moment this happened, now, I'm not sticking up for her. What happened there was totally wrong. But she's got some health issues, mental health issues that needed to be addressed. And her friends, yes, that's for sure, Lynn, and her friends emailed her mother and said, you guys need to be careful. Carly's talking about these things. And they ignored it. Her mother allowed this thing just to be laying out in her bedroom, just in a little cubby so you could see it. And she came home from school this one day. It was a normal day. But her mother was pacing back and forth, almost as though she thought something. And the anticipation, and I have to say this, to a point, we are all very desensitized by a lot of these things, because look at the things that they have on TV now, all these reenactments and just crazy, crazy stuff that it's hard to think. Hi, Lisa from England. Much love. Thank you so much for being here. But all these crazy things that have been happening, you have to kind of come down to think, oh my gosh, that's real. It was horrific. But the stepdad, now, Carly, after this happened with her mother and you heard the bangs, right? Carly texted her stepdad from her mother's phone. And evidently, she was lying in wait, if I can say that. And when he walked in, she took a few swipes at him. One hit his shoulder, but it just grazed. I don't think he overreacted, but there was something different there. They took him to the hospital. She ran out of the house. He locks the door. But before all this, she knew there were cameras in the house, and she hid one in the refrigerator. And that's how they got her on evidence tampering. A couple of things. couple weeks before, when this trial started, I put on my Patreon a video about what I thought was going on there. And I'm going to put my Patreon up here. But I'll tell you what, there was something there. And I could tell by the looks of her. And in this video, I talk about hearing voices. Now, this was 2 weeks before. Thank you so much, Marie. This was 2 weeks before her, everything started, everything coming out. I actually even sent it to attorney Melanie Little, and she wrote back and said, oh my goodness, this is so interesting. And it's about kids who get involved with things that they shouldn't be, as in dark arts. Now, that's not to say that that is replacing that there were some true mental illness problems, and we in the United States have a real lack of help for those who need help. I mean, that's just the way it is. Carly needed help, and from a long time. Her bio dad was off the chain. He had problem after problem after problem. But Carly started showing these problems, and she was mentioning that she was hearing voices. She was an excellent student and considered a genius. And that's what happens in some of those things. Now, I'm not saying she did that. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying, is this something that we really need to think about? Because as you can see on all social media, this stuff is so available, and especially available to young kids. It's kind of scary. I mean, that it was horrible. Now, we also saw her in court, and I want you to know something. As you know, I'm a mother. Many of you here are mothers and fathers. It bothered me. Pardon me. You got to take the old drink. It bothered me to watch her, because there were some times in the courtroom that she was totally disconnected. In my opinion, I don't think that she fully understood what was really happening. Now, they had this child, because they can't put her in an adult lockup. They had her in solitary confinement for 183 days. She was allowed out 1 hour per day. Now, that's going to affect you. Me, I'd love it. But that's going to affect people. And now she's back in solitary confinement because they really can't put her, there's not a place for her. Now, some people are saying, why didn't they, she's a juvenile. They prosecuted her as an adult. And I believe the reason being is because they wanted a jury trial. And in juvenile court, now I'm not a lawyer, just remember that, and I stand corrected. But in juvenile court, it is up to the judge to sentence or to find for whatever verdict and then to sentence a juvenile. And they didn't want that. I think it was the prosecution, but I'm not sure. And hello, everyone, for watching and coming in. So I was not sure about that, but that's why. So now they're going to be filing appeals. She turned down a plea agreement for 40 years. They gave her life without the possibility of parole, with no mental health whatsoever. Pardon me. It was messed up. Some of the witnesses that they had, and of course, the prosecution, the state can spend all the money that they want to, and your defense is limited. So there were some things. Hello, my darlings. Hello, coming in. I love having all of you here. There were some things that were bothersome about the whole thing. And once again, yes, Carly did it. But there's also some things that she was experiencing. After the court, we learn that they really had Carly medicated, like a lot. So that explains a little bit of, this wide-eyed, and then she would get almost sleepy, and then wide-eyed, and then almost sleepy. There's problems there. I'm going to follow this case because they're going to file an appeal. I don't know if it's going to be ineffective counsel. I don't know what. But I will tell you this. That judge, to me, in his opinion, in my opinion, did everything that he could to open a door and not prejudice now, but to make this known. He knew that Carly needed something, and they threw this to the jury. And I'm going to tell you what, I did not like that prosecutor. She brought the same model of pew-pew in the courtroom and was pointing it around, reenacting. I was appalled. The jury was out. They rested their case. The jury was out for 2 hours, and they probably would have been back sooner, but they were getting pork chops from Newt's that day. Nobody's going to miss out on the pork chop because they're only getting paid $25 a day. So they wanted to get their pork chop, and boom, they were going to be gone. But then 2 things that kind of bother me. The jury wrote back and said, how long is life in prison? Hello? Being in Mississippi is not an excuse. We have intelligent people all around. How long is life? Well, that means life. It means the end is going to be there. If Carly gets life without the possibility of parole, which she did, she will outlive me. She's only 14. Well, now she's 15. She turned 15 in June. The weight of this has not sunk in. It did, though, at the end. I think it did at the end. She was really thinking about that. But the other thing that bothered me, and I headed down this road and then I didn't get there. The other thing that really got to me is this. As soon as that stepfather got to the hospital, he lawyered up. Could it be because of the school situation in Georgia? Was he thinking that he was responsible? And by the way, my darlings, he had another one that was more of a long automatic thing in his closet that was easily obtainable. But there's something wrong. There's something wrong. She had a hard life, but there's something wrong there. That stepfather, when he was on the stand, okay, enough is enough. I wanted to get to that now. Let's get to Karen Read. There's some things happening with Karen Read that I know that you're all, let me do this real quick. Anti-BB2, was the prosecutor as bad as the one on Ashley Benefield case? My darling, I think they were related. She, look, we knew Carly was going to get something. She was not going to get out. She wasn't just going to walk away that day. But this prosecutor took overboard. I mean, she was aggressive. And I mean, just, so she was on that level. and using that pew pew in the courtroom. Like, lady, relax. You know, she wanted to just drive it home. And there's Carly sitting there going, no. So there was some realization there. So now we're going to fast forward over to Karen Reed. I found something that is very interesting. And you know that my readings on Karen Reed, I use the Kipper deck. In fact, here it is. In fact, I want to get this card out. So all of you, I can help all of you with this little sweet reminder. So you can say, oh yeah, that's the card. Oh yeah, that's the card. And I'm sure it's at the end because that's the way it always is. Yes, it is, truly. Okay. This is the family room card. Y'all remember this one? This comes out a lot in the Karen Reed case. I found something I want to share with you. Hold on. We're going to go there right now. Here we are, my darlings. Give me just a second. Here we are. Now, I'm not going to turn the sound up because there's a different song on there and I'll get smacked. But do you read this? The family room. Brian Higgins said there was photos. There was something with the family room. Now, yeah. That's Uncle Brian. Stuff in his room upstairs, the family room. That was Nicole Albert. That is young Miss Albert, the family room. So there was definitely something up there. Now, that doesn't surprise me. Does it you? It shouldn't. So now let's do this. I'm going to give you another. We're going to look at something else right now. I am sure you probably have seen this. Boston 10 has posted the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, well, the order, because Karen Reed is going to go see the Supremes. Ooh, baby, baby love. Okay. Commonwealth versus Karen Reed. Now, remember when I said something was going to happen on the 13th? That something was going to happen that week? I missed it by one day. Because down at the bottom on this footnote, it says, at a scheduling conference held on September 12th, the following this court's review of the petition as well as its record appendix containing, among other things, the relevant papers filed by the Commonwealth before the Superior Court, the court expressed its intention to reserve and report this matter to the full court. The court also requested that the parties confer regarding a briefing schedule before the full court, and B, gave the Commonwealth until September 18th to file a response to the petition to the county court, if any. Okay, I think all that's done. The parties jointly filed a proposed briefing schedule on September 17th. That is past us. Now, it goes in and talking all this, but let's talk about this. The defendant's principal down here, the defendant's principal brief shall be filed no later than September 25th. The Commonwealth's brief shall be filed no later than October 16th of 2024. The defendant reply brief, if any, shall be filed no later than October 25th. Enlargements of time should not be anticipated, which means they're not going to give any more. Oral argument shall take place in November of 2024 or such time as full court may order. Now, my darlings, Do we really think Karen's going to have a new trial? No, I don't. Because now that they've got Hank Brennan, and okay, so he was a mob attorney. Okay, look who Alan Jackson has been representing. Hello. But the whole thing is weird. The whole thing is weird. And we're going to see some twists and turns here. Because do I believe that Karen Reed is going to be charged with murder? Is she going to be acquitted? Yes. Is she going to have to go through anything more? I don't know. Let's ask the House of Zelda. Let's ask. You're going to see it before me. Answer the call. That means there's something new that's coming. Answer the call. It's about ready to ring. The phone's about ready to ring. I'm going to show you something else that I just love. Because, you know, I think we're all crushing on AJ and David Yannetti and all those guys, right? Here's something more I want to show to you. And here we go. Ted Daniels. He is getting down and dirty on this. The new statement from Karen Reed's attorney, Alan Jackson, regarding the Norfolk DA's appointment of special prosecutor for the Reed second trial. The news that Michael Morrissey has decided to use taxpayer funds to hire an outside lawyer to prosecute this case speaks volumes about his confidence in his own team. Ain't that the truth? They can bring anyone they want to court. We will beat this unjust prosecution just like we did the last time. Like I've said to Mr. Morrissey previously, do your worst. We'll see you in court. Yes, yes. Don't I love them? So listen, bravo, bravo, AJ, bravo to them. Now, that is, I'm going to tell you something, my darlings. This stuff drags out. Now, I'm also going to share with you something else. In my experience working with law enforcement and other agencies in the past, and I know a lot of lawyers, and I'm going to tell you something. You know what joke I tell them? No, my darling, let me see here. Hold on. If Carly happened in March and she just turned 15 in June, she had to be 13 when she committed. No, she was 14, darling. She was 14 when she committed her crime. She just turned 15 in June. Okay, so many times, and I'm going to tell you, you know, I know a lot of lawyers, and I've got buddies that are lawyers. And you know what my joke is to my lawyer friends and to any lawyer that I tell them? How does a lawyer sleep at night? Now this is a joke. How does a lawyer sleep at night? Well, they lie this way and they lie that way. That's what happens. But we know who the big fat liars are in the Karen Reed case. Now, many of you have asked me, why don't the Fed step in? First of all, it's one of these wonderful mind games that they play because you always wonder. Think about Matthew Farwell. I had to get his name right. Matthew Farwell. All of a sudden, and I'm surprised that thing did not leak, but it didn't. And all of a sudden, it just came out. And you're going to see that. Why? Why? Because there's two sides to this, how this game works. And it is a game. This is how it works. First of all, on the state side, on the civil side, on the criminal side, you arrest first. All you need is suspicion. Just remember, the courts, oh, you're fine, Rhonda, you're fine, darling. The courts said that you know what? My train of thought got derailed. Let's talk about, we're gonna keep going. Anyway, oh, okay, now, hello. See, hello? You know what I got on my mind? I can smell it all day. I've been cooking potatoes and pork chops and green beans in the crock pot. And when I'm done here, I'm making some cornbread and I'm going to feast. And not only that, I made some peanut butter fudge today. Like I need it. I might as well sit in it because that's where it's going. All right. So the court, first of all, there's an accusation. In any case, there's an accusation. And just remember, there's an old saying that the courts will indict a bologna sandwich. And believe me, that is absolutely the truth. You don't have to do anything. Look at all the frivolous little lawsuits that come about. You don't have to do anything for somebody to accuse you of something, and boom, you're popped. Now that's on the state side, civil side, and there's an accusation, you get arrested, and then most times they investigate after. That's when the investigation really starts. You don't need too much of anything. You might just need somebody coming and saying, look, this person did this and this, and I have this paper. Here's the receipt, and boom. Now on the Fed side, they don't let it go. They investigate first. They have to have their cases airtight, nailed down. They make sure that everything is in place, because what they don't want are perps and peds like Farwell walking. And that is exactly why they do it that way. Just remember, there's a lot of things going on. Now, the other thing about, I got to back up about this for a minute, and that is Jennifer McCabe. I love Nurse Kim, how she does that, and I try to mock it. I can't. She's the queen. But Jennifer McCabe's lawyer represented the new lawyer, who is Hank Brennan, who is now on the team, who was a defense attorney, who's now on the team of the prosecution. Jen's lawyer represented the girlfriend of Hank Brennan. Don't you think there needs to be what's called a China wall? Isn't this a conflict of interest? Sort of, kind of, maybe? Maybe? If nothing more, even if it's not, you know that they've talked, you know that they have conversation, you know. Not a good look. Not a good look. So everybody, when you get upset about what's going on, just remember, the feds are nailing this down. You wait until they get the stuff. You wait till they come out with all this. It is going to be so mind-boggling. I'm going to pull another card to give us some type of, you're going to see it before me. Here we go. Poetic justice. Ain't that the truth? Poetic justice. Remember that, my friends. We're going to be doing some more predictions now this coming week on Karen Reed, and a lot of things going on with Sandra Birchmore. Don't know if you've heard about dear sweet Sandra Birchmore, but it was found out that she went to a school counselor, and the school counselor knew that there were many other people, men, that she had been involved with that took advantage of her. Not only that, but the chief of police did too. A boys' club. Sickening. Absolutely disgusting, sickening. I looked like Joan Rivers there, didn't I? Disgusting. Disgusting. Okay, other news. Ashley Benefield. Ashley's judge will start interviewing the jury for misconduct very soon. What can happen after that? Well, I can tell you this. The judge ain't going to like it, but he's got to do it. I don't think the judge liked Ashley Benefield. Doesn't matter. He's got to uphold the law. And if he finds any type of little something, something, there may be a mistrial coming. And God forbid we have to sit through those prosecutors again, but here we are. Contact coming to you. That means news is coming. We're going to see. Let's pull another card. What was the same one? Okay, I'm really going to shuffle this time. Let's see. Ready? Here we are. Oops. It's all about timing. Absolutely. In all of these cases, it is literally all about the timing. Coming above, coming beyond. Yes. Definitely. I'm seeing in the chat that y'all are starting journals to keep track of cases. That is so amazing and so smart. Because, you know, I keep journals. I keep journals of everything. And I want you to know I've kept journals since the 1980s. And if you want to see some of those, you go in the description and you can see a playlist of Dark Tales with Zelda. And there are crime calls in there. And if y'all want me to tell you a crime call story, I will. But that's the latest on Ashley Benefield. In the great state of Kentucky, thank you. Okay, we're seeing this very important thing. Indigo Forever. I love that name. Hank Brennan represented Whitey Bulger. Bulger is what I call him. Reddington represented Bulger's girlfriend. Reddington is Jennifer McCabe's attorney. Reddington represents Jennifer McCabe. Yes. No, you're fine, Indigo. You're fine, darling. Okay. Meanwhile, in the great state of Kentucky, we have Sheriff Mickey Stein, who walks into Judge Kevin Mullins' chambers and pew-pews him. Good night, Judge. Why was that? It's coming out now that the judge, Kevin Mullins, was taking advantage of the sheriff's daughter, who is underage. What is wrong with these people? What is wrong with these people? Auntie Bibi says, and also sickening, Fanning claims he was on vacation, therefore did not see Proctor's texts. Something's going on with Fanning, my darlings. I'm not so sure I would be so mad at him. want you to know that he has seen a lot more than what I'm very careful. And let's be careful, please, if you don't mind, in the chat, because YouTube has this AI, pardon me, that picks up things. So, and I appreciate all of you being just so kind and sweet to everyone. But anyway, I'm wondering though, now let's wait. Let's wait and see, because Fanning knows a lot. Now let's just take a minute. Fanning knows a lot. And he may have joined the good guys. I like to call them the white hats. Instead of, pardon me, these bad actors. What the heck? You know, sometimes you just want to say, what? But there's something about Fanning. Something about Fanning. Oops, here we are. This Page of Wands. You know what that is? It's a fire element, but it means that he's opening doors. It means that he had an opportunity and that he's opening doors. And it would not surprise me if Fanning also had a proffer, just like little Higgy baby. Wouldn't surprise me. Just let's just keep our heads about ourselves, right? Let's look, be watchmen. Let's think. He may have had to say that in order to just keep away from things. If Michael Morrissey doesn't retire in shame over this, this is career ending. Lolly's career is done. His career, in my opinion, boo, he's done. Who's going to hire him? I don't know. What, if any, firm would hire this dude? I can also bet you that Auntie Bev will be retiring. There's a lot of other people that are retiring, but this is like the kiss of death to a lawyer, to have a defense attorney come in and take first chair and they bump you off of first chair. That's not a good look. That's like ridiculous. So think about that. Think about that. Okay. Sweet Enrique Delgado-Garcia. Bless his sweet, loving heart. Enrique, his services, funeral services, are in Worcester, Mass. On September 27th and 28th. We are going to see a lot of things coming out. They tried to pass this on to someone else who they said was a big boy and was really boxing, and that there's a tape. But we all know what they do to tapes. We all know, pardon me, what they do to videos. Sad moments. Sad moments. The truth will come out, though, in this, because talk about perking up the ears of the feds. We've got this case. We've got Sandra Birchmore. We've got Karen Reed. We've got other things. And really, it's not these cases. It's the conduct of the MSP and all the little minions around. Uncle Brian, in my opinion, is the ringleader. there's going to be more come out, and I'm going to do some more readings and predictions on them too. The next thing, and I'm going to have to put most of this on Patreon because I can't talk about it here, is Sean Combs, Puff Daddy P. Diddy. Did he do it? Yes. Combing, you know, combing is another name for when you groom. Combing people I don't know if you've noticed, but J-Lo and Ben Affleck are getting divorced. I don't know if you've noticed, but Kevin Hart just closed all of his restaurants. There are people leaving. This is a worse case than Epstein ever was. Careful. And we're going to see so much, and we're going to see Politico things come out. Because there's quite a few. We're going to see some ex-politicians that are involved in this. The other one is Kris Kardashian and Kim Kardashian. I don't know about you, but these Kardashian peoples, and I'm going to tell you something. Most people don't know this. There was an Armenian witch. Now, you sometimes think witches are nasty and bad. Two witches I would not want to go up against. A Scottish witch and an Armenian witch. There was an Armenian witch a long time ago that put a curse on that family. And you can see, and the curse was, it almost is kind of like practical magic in some way. The curse was they would never be able to hold a man, or the man that were involved with them would never be able to stay, would never be able to put up with them, nothing. That's the Kardashian stuff. In my opinion, that's what I've read allegedly, supposedly. So yeah, big stuff. So yeah. Little Diddy dumb. Diddy was dumb. Is going to be singing, but watch, my darlings, because now they have him on unalive watch. And not only that, hi, my darlings, not only do they have him on an unalive watch, but you watch him, because if you see him again, his looks are going to change. Mark my word, my darlings. I'm telling you, darling, that's correct. He's got so many targets. This man, his prosecution team gave the feds a package. Not the prosecution, I'm sorry. Erase. The defense team for Diddy Dumb gave the prosecution a package. In that package was surrendering all passports for the kids, the mother, him, friends, family, whatever. Gave them something going on with a home that was just paid off, a plane, the package was a total of $50 million. And the judge said, nah, he's a flight risk. Now they went up again the second time. And the second time the judge said, no, I think there's going to be witness tampering and evidence tampering. And we're going to hold that dude. So you wait. And I'm going to also tell you that wait till after the electionian, if y'all know what I mean. The electionian in November, you're going to see a lot of things changing. Please be careful in the chat and don't say too much, okay? Let's see about Diddy. I'm going to be doing some things in Patreon. If you want to see all about that and Madeline Soto, I'll be putting that in Patreon because I can't put it here. Oh, looky there. This is for Diddy. Enough said. I'm not predicting anything. Don't think that. The other thing I want to tell you is I do know, you see, Diddy Dumb owns media companies. And there are people that are on TikTok that are reporting a lot of these things. And they are now being threatened by this media company. Who owns the media company? So if you live anywhere near Manhattan and you smell this stench coming from somewhere, you know exactly where it is because they're going to nail him big time for traffic violations. And you know what I mean. All kinds of really nasty stuff. And Marie just put the link in the chat for Patreon. If y'all want to go over there, there's a free trial, so you don't want to miss anything. I do have the memberships here, but I have found out, and I just have to say this. I've tried to do 2 membership lives, and it doesn't work. For some reason, there's no member live there. My members can't come in. So I'm doing other little things. I'm starting to do some other little things with members only. And then the bigger stuff is going to be on Patreon. So please feel free to come over there and take advantage of a free little trial. And then you can see a lot because I'm going to start putting a lot of things on there. And also, if you can find True Oracle, I don't have that. True Oracle is also on Patreon. And we will be putting some really cool things on there that we can't put on here. Very good. So, I think, oh, and don't forget, Justin Bieber. There's a lot of things. Oprah, some princes and royalties and, you know, lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. There's a lot of things coming out. So I have covered a lot of that now. Do y'all want to hear a scary story? Y'all want to hear a Dark Tales from Zelda story from back in the day when I was reading cards? You ready? Yeah, are you ready, my friends? And as we get close to Halloween, opera is no bueno. I want to see. Yes, Usher and Bieber, for sure. For Halloween, my darlings, we're going to do something. I just don't know what yet. I've got true scary stories, true paranormal scary stories. I as they say in the business, I got a million of them. I can tell them. So we can do, and I can tell how, where are they? Where are they? Where's my darlings? These 2 people right here. And I, because I was always the volunteer to do things. These 2 beautiful, wonderful people and I found a And I told that story last year at Halloween, or maybe the year before, but I'll be glad to tell it again. That was a story that I didn't tell for a long time. I was 16 years old, and there's Shaggy walking through. Hello. I was 16 years old. All right, Shaggy Noodle. And I was very affected for a very long time. And Shaggy is kissing. Let me see if I can. Here he comes. Here he comes. I have to hide certain elements here of him. Look at this. He has no head. There he do. Look at him. Look at the camera. He knows. He's a bum. Okay. So here is the story. One time I was on, which one do I want to tell? Maybe I'll tell two. The first one was I was on this line, True Oracle. And on this True Oracle line, isn't he I'll tell you what, I pay him rent. I just live here. He's the owner of the joint. Thank you, everyone. Okay. So I'm working, and I used to work those late hours, from 10 p.m. until 3 a.m. Oh my. It's like the bars closed and everybody called the psychic line. I'm sorry, that's just the way it was. Thank you, everybody. Shaggy sees that and he knows and he appreciates it. So, oh, pardon me, just knocked something down. Let me fix this before my light goes. Okay. So anyway, there's a call come in. And I hear these, just a minute, Shaggy Noodle, Angel Pie. I hear these children screaming in the background. And I mean, how children scream. Shrill, high screams. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? This woman gets me on the phone and she says, Zelda, can you tell me when you pass away, do you go to heaven or do you go to hell? And I said, honey, the word says that when the silver cord breaks, we go straight back to the Creator, and that's where we wait for judgment. There's not this jumping all over. You wait for judgment. I hear these children. I said, honey, what's going on? And she said, my husband was having an affair, and we decided to get back together. He was working in the garage, and all of a sudden, we heard this noise. And I said, what kind of noise? And she said, she described it, it was like the bang bang, a pew pew. And I said, oh my God, when did this happen? And she said, about 20 minutes ago. I said, oh my God, you mean you're calling me? And she said, my children are here. And she said, they're scared that he's trapped and that he's not going to heaven. I said, honey, he's in heaven right now. I said, do you know that he's actually, and they said, oh yeah, she said, oh yeah, there's no way. I said, what happened? And she said he was working in the garage and his mistress, who was sitting out on the street, decided that she was going to come in and she was going to confront him and basically said, if I can't have you, nobody's having you. Pew, pew. The wife heard this and walks out, and there's the mistress standing with that in her hand. And she said, I don't know what to do. And I said, I'm going to tell you what to do. Where is she? And she said, she's on the street in the car. I said, do the girls have a phone? And she said, yes. I said, get them on 911 right now. I said, you close the garage door immediately. You get those girls in that house. You lock the doors. You close the windows, and you go to the bathroom and you call 911. So they're in the bathroom. I'm hearing all this noise, all this crying. And then all of a sudden you hear this little girl talking to 911 on the phone. Now I'm on the phone. Hello, I'm a psychic. But she needed to be able to be talked through this. So they're talking to 911. I'm waiting. They go, this little girl's talking. They're giving the address, all these things. Pardon me, I have a little itch. Thank you. So they're doing all these things, pardon me, and all of a sudden you hear the sirens. Ooh, like back here we see. Well, only I didn't see it. Hello. There he's back. Come up here, buddy. So you hear the sirens. All of a sudden, you hear this, knocking on the door, all these things. And I said, keep the girls in the bathroom. You take your phone, you have them keep talking to dispatch, and you go to the phone and you ask who it is. You try to look out, you make sure it's a cop, and you make sure that everything is going on the way it should be going on. Do not let anyone else in that house. She goes, she hears. This cop walks in, they're talking, and the cop says, who are you talking to? And she says, innocently enough, just cracks me up. This part cracks me up. She says, I'm talking to my psychic. And you hear this cop go, psychic? Just really loud. I mean, and it surprised him. He said, hand me the phone. So he hands me the phone. She hands him the phone, and he said, hello. And I said, hello, sir. My name is Zelda Kelly. I'm with True Oracle. And this is what happened. He goes, well, can we reach you if anything else? And I said, of course, you can reach me. Just, go on the website. I can't give you my numbers or anything. He goes, no, that's all right. We probably are not going to need you. I said, is everybody okay? And he said, yes. And I said, can I ask you, where's the mistress? He said, she's in the street getting arrested right now. And I said, are the girls okay? And he said, yes. And that was it. That was a call. I've had some scary calls, my darling. That was tense. That was tense. I'm going to tell you another one. We got a little bit of time. Do you want to hear another one? Let me know in the chat. Put a number 1 if you want me to tell you another psychic line story, because I'll be glad to. Let me know. And do me a favor, my darlings. Let me see here. Let me see. I have to refresh my thing here. I want to make sure that we have 61 likes and there's 83 watching right now. Could you please do me a favor and hit that like button? Hit it for me. Okay, we got ones. We got ones in the chat. Here we go. Okay, we've got this little man, Shaggy. So another time, it was in the wee hours of the morning. And he wants down. Get down, Angel. So, talking. And this was a regular client. This client's father just passed away. And he had been calling me and talking to me. Now, he didn't really believe in the hereafter. So we were talking about what happens and, just that sort of thing. How he missed his dad. He lived with his dad. He lost his mom earlier. Look who's in the house. Standing stones. I'm here, Card Mama, just listening. Well, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. So, my darlings, here's the deal. So we're talking. And then, you know how like when you're talking on the phone, you realize that somebody has been distracted. And I'm like, hello. And he's like, oh, no, okay. I just want you to know that this guy up the road, now this is about 3 o'clock in the morning. This guy up the road is texting him. And I said, who is this? And he said, oh, it's a guy up the road that I don't really know, but we know each other just from being neighbors. And he lives kind of across the way, sort of, kind of. And when we go outside, we wave. And I said, okay. And he says, look, the guy wants me to come up to his place and he wants me to show him this necklace. I said, that doesn't sound right. So I'm reading the cards, and y'all know my cartomancy deck, the fire element one, the orange and red looking one. And my darlings, there was nothing but negative cards. And the negative cards that definitely pointed to a serious problem. I don't predict unaliving, but if I ever got close to predicting unaliving, that would be the time. So, as time goes on, we are talking, and he said, there he is again. I said, there he's what, doing what? He said, he's telling me that he really needs me to come over there. I said, look, here, no, it's 3 a.m. Are your doors locked? He said, I don't know. I said, you need to get your hiney upstairs, because he was in his finished basement. I said, you need to get your hiney upstairs. You need to make sure that your doors are locked. Are your windows locked? How about a sliding glass door? And then you need to go back down. So I was on the phone as I'm hearing him lock the doors, making sure the windows, making sure the sliding glass doors. He goes downstairs, and I said, now lock the door behind you. And I said, now I want you to put something on it, so if the handle jiggles, it's going to make a noise, because he couldn't see that well. And he said, okay. And I said, now I'll stay on here with you. So I said, you need to tell this man that you're feeling ill and you're not able to come over. And you know what, Auntie BB? I'm going to answer this as soon as I'm done. So I said, you tell him if he needs any help, if it's an emergency, you'll make a few phone calls. And we did that, and this guy backed off right away, didn't say anything more. 2 days went by, and this guy had been calling me every day just because he just needed somebody to talk to. So he didn't call. And I thought, oh boy. And I almost called because, if we have to, we'll do a wellness check. And we'll call somebody to do a wellness check on the line. That it's too important for that. He calls me, and I said, oh God, I'm so glad that you called. He said, oh my God, I'm so glad that I called you. And I said, why? What's going on? And he said, because he said, I went out to get the mail this afternoon and there was caution tape around this. I said, what do you mean caution tape? He said, police crime tape around this guy's house. I said, oh my heck, what the heck? What happened? Here this guy, before he texted my client and wanting to get something about this necklace, whatever ridiculousness, had unalived his parents. This was in Michigan. Unalived his parents. That's not the end. What he wanted my client to do was come over and help him put them in the trunk of his car. And he took them to a park, like a park, and was digging to put the parents. And somebody saw him and caught him. And this gentleman had been living with his parents, kind of reminds me of Carly Gregg. He had been living with his parents for a long time. And he was out of control. He had mental health problems. And the parents would call the police. Yay, I've got 73 likes. You guys are the best. Hello. Thank you. They called the police several times on this man, on their son. The police would come out and they couldn't do anything because of the laws with, the basically thing is you got to do something. And usually when you do something, it's too late. Well, this time it was too much, too little, too late. What's that song? And the unfortunate thing was the parents paid for it with their lives. And if my client would not have listened, he would have been dragged into this. But I could see him going up there and going, oh no, because I got to tell you, as much as I love my client, and if you're listening and to me, my client, and you know who you are, I love you, but you're a wuss. And I knew that you would never get involved in something like this. And I'm saying that in a very loving way. Sometimes it just pays to be a wuss, especially in this day and time, right? Being a wuss is not a bad thing. Don't let anyone else get you involved with something that you shouldn't be. Or if you feel suspicious, we have that little switch on the inside of it ourselves that basically lets us know the difference from right and wrong. And if we feel uncomfortable and if we feel weird, then we also know that it's okay to be a wuss. As brave as I am, some things just scare me and I'm fearless. So that's my saying, be a wuss. Because in this day and age, as you see, in this day and age that we live, I don't know why people think that they're going to commit crimes. Because it is a very rare occurrence that you get away with it. And if you do, you better not do it again because they'll pop you on the second round. People get greedy and they think, oh, this was easy, I'm going to do it again. And then bravery. And that brings me back to Uncle Brian. Uncle Brian is so confident in this because he's done this before, in my opinion, allegedly, supposedly, and what I've read. That's why he's done this before. Hi there, everybody. Come on in. I love you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And Vixie, my darling. Look at that hair. I love that. That's bravery. I wish I could do that. That's beautiful. I've done martial arts and boxing, and I'd rather walk away. That's smart. And I'm just kind of showing off a little bit about saying a wuss. Everybody's being a wuss, but I'm going to tell you, just walk away. I mean, there's times that you just don't know. I mean, I'm even careful when I go out to places. I avoid people and situations now, and because who wants to get in the thick of it? Auntie BB, when you get that sixth sense, yeah, the sixth and the sixth sense, something is wrong or off, I stay away or decide to do the opposite. Good for you, bravo. Now, Auntie BB, you have a question back up here, and I'm going to answer it for you. Pardon me. If I can find it, and there we are. Auntie BB asks, Zelda, hi, darling. If you came across an unaliving in a reading, would you tell that person something? You know what? That's a hard one. I kind of made an agreement with our Father that I really don't want to see that type of thing. And I'll tell you why. Now, that doesn't mean that I haven't, and I have. And if I see an unaliving somewhere, if it shows that it is avoidable, then I will say, look, you need to be careful. Just like this last story that I told about this gentleman in Michigan, and told him, look, because he was about seriously to go over there. He wanted friends so bad. And and I said, look, I'm just going to tell you, I'm seeing you better not go over there. Well, what's wrong? I know him, Zelda. He lives right across from me. I said, I'll tell you what's wrong. I don't see good cards. And this is your chance. If you feel that you have that ability to overcome something when it comes your way, then go ahead. But this guy it does not look, he's got bad cards. Well, what do you mean bad? And that's the hard thing, because it's hard for people to listen. So telling them one thing, but then having them listen is another. One of the things years and years ago, back in the old days, back in when was it? 92, 93. I had been traveling all over, reading cards all over, was in Florida, doing the psychic circuit, going to California psychic astrology conferences, having tables, talking about this, blah, blah, blah. I was on the circuit for a while and traveling all over. I was on my way home, and when I say home, I actually lived in Virginia, but I was on my way to see my mother, who actually lived in Gatlinburg, Tennessee at the time. Thank you, my darlings. I love you all too. And so I was coming through Knoxville. Now I'm going to tell you something. On this highway, God, that reminds me of the Eagles. What is it? On that deep desert highway. Okay, so on this highway, there was this little house, like a little shacky house. It was cute, but it needed some help. But the cars were always lined up, blocking the road. The cops were always out there. And I kept thinking, what is this? Somebody selling a meat and three? If you're on the South, you know what a meat and three is. It is a meal that has a meat and 3 vegetables and usually a biscuit or cornbread. And they call it a meat and three. And I'm thinking, oh, heck, do they have a meat and 3 there? I might just stop and get a something me to take over to my mama. Well, it was not. It was a psychic. And people were there like crazy. And so I decided that I wanted to stop. So I turned around and I thought, oh God, that's where that psychic is. This woman was bedridden. And she was in a hospital bed in the middle of her living room. And these women, they were all women there. There were no men. These women were just lined up. She had these chairs, folding chairs, outdoor chairs, dining room chairs, whatever, you name it, stools, chairs. And they were lined up around in the living room like a little snake. And you go in, and she did readings for $20 back then, but she was good. She did readings for $20. But whatever you read on, you better make sure that you didn't care if somebody else heard, because she was loud, because she could hardly hear. So whatever, she would never whisper, your fly is open, or any, there was never, nothing. It was all out in the open. Well, I go in and I grab a seat. And when you got up to her, you gave her, no cash. And back then we didn't have ATM cards. So her phone beside her bed, I'll never forget it. It was a black, old-fashioned dial-up phone. And that phone rang completely off the hook constantly. And I don't mean maybe, it was the whole time you were there. And she had a lady, I think it was a relative or something, that would answer the phone and she'd say, hello, I'm sorry, she's with a client right now. Can I take your name and number? And if she gets busy, she'll call you back. Will you do that for me, darling? Okay, thank you very much. Click, and then ring, ring, ring. Hello, my darling. I mean, it was that. So the whole thing was just crazy and distracting. I finally make it up to the promised land of sitting by this lady who was bedridden, and she was a cartomancer. She would say, no tarot for me. I get more from the cartomancy, which is the playing cards. And at that time, my darlings, I didn't read tarot either. It was 100% cartomancy. That's all I read. I was a cartomancer for years. And then I started getting involved with tarot and teaching it and all that other. But at this time, I was a tarot reader, and she knew it. And she sat there and she had this southern accent, and she was so loud. And it was kind of whining. She was cute as could be. And she says, honey, do you read these cards too? She was so sing-song, I'll never forget it. And I said, yes, ma'am, I am a card reader as well, but I can't read for myself. And she says, let me take a look and see what's going on. And everybody, the moment that they heard that I was a card, it was just like you could hear a pin drop. Even though the phone was ringing, no, she was in Tennessee, my darling. Even though the phone was ringing, you could hear, because all eyes, I could just feel them all on me. She looks at me and she says, well, I hate to tell you, but you're a big girl. You can take it. I don't see your mama living any more than 6 months. Now, I want you to know at that moment, because I knew that my mother had liver problems. And it was the realization that I knew that something was going to happen, but I just didn't want to face it. And I did everything that I possibly could to hold back the tears. but I couldn't. And I said, well, thank you for letting me know that, but is there anything else that I need to, that you need to share with me? And she said, well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you cry. Now, I want you to know, before anybody comes at me, I mock those who I have conversations with. So it's done in all the love, because I really did love this lady. And I said, no, ma'am, that's fine. So she told me a few other things, which obviously I didn't hear, because all I could focus on was my mother. So I bawled like a daggone cow out in the field that has been out of the barn for a long time. You know, have you ever heard one? If you haven't, Google it and get the sound, because it's like, wah. I mean, seriously, I bawled like a bloody baby the whole way to my mother's, which was probably about 30 miles. By the time I got there, I was completely, yes, I did. And I will tell you that. I will tell you all about that, Pam. I was completely a wreck. And when I saw my mother, I grabbed her and would not let her go. And of course, my mom is like, what's wrong with you, Zell? Are you going off the cuckoo bin or whatever? And she had been sick. She was jaundiced. She was hanging in there and doing their best and under a doctor's care and all that other stuff, but I couldn't get that out of my mind. And I did everything that I could to manipulate the outcome. I told her I thought she needed to go to another doctor. I told her this, I told her that. I did this for her, I did that for her. I made her get her paperwork and get, you know, it was things that I probably would not have done if I were not told that. And I've always been mindful of that, because we as human beings, we, me included, and probably most of all, will do everything that we can to change an outcome if we don't like the certain circumstance that we're in right now. I just gave my son the peace sign because he just walked through. Peace. So, and that's our thing. My son, we give the peace sign. So, I don't like telling people things like that. Even though I might see that, everybody in the chat saying peace. He's given the peace sign back to everybody. Hello. There we go. My son is hilarious. He keeps me in stitches continuously, constantly. So anyway, I am very mindful of how I tell people. I'm sorry I took the long way around. I should have just went straight on, but I took the scenic route in answering. But I wanted to let you know how I feel about that. And there have been some times. And if I see caution tape, because it's funny, because I do see crime scene tape, caution tape around things if something is funky and somebody needs to know, then I tell them. Now, just like my client, Marianne, and we talked about her, and I did a video. This was the lady whose boyfriend was unalived by his wife. And I told her not to go. She was going to go to a meeting. The wife invited her, and push come to shove, and she walked in after the husband was unalived, and they blamed my client. Now, all of that is resolved now. They've arrested the wife, the boyfriend of the wife, right? Peyton Place, hello. The boyfriend of the wife has been arrested, but he made a plea deal and he sang like a canary. So that whole thing, but unfortunately, my client didn't listen. Now, I'm not saying I'm right all the time, but if I told you, my dear client, if you got a video reading from me, and by the way, if you want one, please go up here and you see the scrolling happening here. If you want a video reading from me, please come and get one. If I see something, I'm going to tell you. Be cautious. Now, if you ask me, do you see anything bad happening? And if you ask me and I see it, I will say, better be a little careful of this and this and this. But what I don't want to do is give you information that makes you manipulate a particular outcome, that makes you affect someone else's life, and not only theirs, but yours as well. That's why. That is why. So that is why I do it that way. So no one gets hurt. Because I'll never forget that. Never forget that. So anyway, there was another question in here that I want to answer before we say goodbye and good night. You know, this time always goes so fast. And I just love having everyone in here. You guys are just wonderful. I love it. I love it. And if you ever have questions about me, if I can answer them, I certainly will. If it's too private, I'll say, no, that's too private. I'm going to tell you a funny question that I had, and I wanted to get up this for Pam. Hi, Pam. Somebody asked me the other day why I wasn't married. Now, somebody asked me what the ring was that I wear on my left hand. That ring says, and it's pretty much worn down now. That ring, I've worn that on my hand since 2013. That ring says Jesus on it because, you know, sometimes you got to be a little careful. And if I think I'm going to do something that I shouldn't, and I look down and I see Jesus on my hand, that keeps me anyway. But, you know, so somebody asked me the other day if I'm dating or if I'm married. And I said, no and no. And they're like, but why? Why aren't you? And I said, because first of all, what's that song? Love is kind of crazy with a spooky little girl like you. That's me. Number two, it is very hard to hold on to a man when they think that you might be able to read their mind and see if they're looking at another woman, if they're texting another woman, if they're going to go out on another, if they're going to cheat, if they're going to steal, if they're going to lie. And that has happened. And you know what? I'm just loving life. And I'm just happy to be. I've had all that. I don't need it again. Unless the Lord himself drops someone so fantastically in front of me that I cannot ignore, who happens to maybe be Irish, that I cannot ignore. And then I'll think, and maybe have a sign across his chest that says, I'm here, Zelda, take me. Hello. So that's why. Now, here's a great question. Pam, darling Pam, off topic. Nothing is off topic. I heard you speak about Edgar Cayce. I got a degree from the Edgar Cayce Foundation. And for those of you who would like, I have my doctorate in metaphysical sciences with a discipline in criminal parapsychology, clinical parapsychology. And those two studies mean, you know how sometimes you hear, and just like in Carly Gregg, she said she was hearing voices that were telling her things. Well, sometimes I believe that if you've been messing with the dark side, I'm not diagnosing anyone, but if you've had messing with that stuff and you're starting to hear voices, yeah, better be careful because you just don't know. And that opens up a door for this sort of thing. Mind-altering medication. Drugs can do that. You can hear, you can see things. We know that happens, and something can just slip right in there. Well, anyway, and then plus I have another discipline in theology because to me, it is so fascinating. Reading the word and I like to read the King James Version, is like reading tomorrow's newspaper. And I made a study of that. So there we go. Edgar Cayce Foundation. I got a degree there. My thesis was, because back then when I went, which was right after the Civil War, I got my thesis there, and my thesis was called The Absence of Light. So with that being said, Edgar Cayce Foundation, I lived in the Edgar Cayce Foundation. I lived in Virginia Beach, Virginia. I knew of a gentleman who is very famous, who was a friend of mine. I met him at a gym there. I haven't seen him in years. He's a karate martial arts expert, and his first name happens to be Chuck. But I was studying at the Edgar Cayce Foundation. This was the first time that I had ever been. Oh, Elizabeth, no, I love Virginia. I really do. I love Virginia. But it's a Commonwealth like Massachusetts. Hello. Not that I plan on doing anything. Anyhow, Edgar Cayce Foundation was beautiful back then. I believe it's changed some hands, and but I still love it. They have a library that is out of this world. It used to be that if you were a member of the Edgar Cayce Foundation, or you went to school there, or you studied there, no matter where in the world, you could go online. Well, no, you couldn't go online then. They had a flyer there that you could mark off, or you could call and you'd say, okay, I want this book of so-and-so and so-and-so. Is it available? And if it is, could you check it out? And could you be there for me? Could you send it to me? And they would say yes or no. It was the coolest thing. And of course, they had some people that abused it. But when I was studying there is the first time that I went out on an official paranormal investigation. This first time paranormal investigation was the funniest thing that we had ever gone in. And I'll tell you that story next time because we're running out of time. But we weren't supposed to do that. We were supposed to hold ourselves to higher standards. And it was me. I said, but there's just such a... There's just so much more out there. Books that I love that I read in the old days. I could not stop getting my hands on anything but from the author Jess Stern. I'll put his name in the chat for you. I think it's spelled Jesse, but he always said it was Jess Stern. He wrote books. I love that, but I'm a reader, and I will consume anything that I get my hands on. In fact, as of October 1st, I start Pride and Prejudice. Again, I read every year Pride and Prejudice, and then I read in November Gone with the Wind, and in December I read Wuthering Heights. That is my thing. Now, on Christmas Eve, there is I believe it is a Norwegian, I think. that I can't pronounce, but it's basically where they give books on New Year's, Christmas Eve with chocolate. And the idea, they say, I believe it is Norway, the book sales are crazy starting September because everybody is getting ready for this. It starts with a J-O, Chala, something. It's a fantastic thing. And so what they do, it's the giving of a book. I don't think people read enough. It's the giving of a book. And, oh, I know, Johnny Depp loves Wuthering Heights. I'd love to meet Johnny Depp. He's deep. Isn't that funny? I always said Johnny Depp is deep. He is. If you could just get him away from some of that addiction, he's deep. I love that. Anyway, they give gift giving of a book on Christmas Eve, and they give you chocolate. Oh, did you, Elizabeth? Oh my God. I would have loved to go on. They give you chocolate, and the idea is you sit up all night, Christmas Eve, read your book, and then Christmas Day, you share what your book was about. I love that. I love that whole thing. I love that. So I don't have anybody, or whatever, and plus I have Kindle, so I have I have, like, I think the last time I looked, 444 titles on Kindle. And so if I get bored with one, now it's not the same because I love a real book. I love a real book. And I lost my original Pride and Prejudice and Gone with the Wind and Wuthering Heights in a breakup. So unfortunately, I have my Kindle, but I read it still. So anyway, my darlings, this is going to be a very interesting week with all of this on, and you saw all that appeal about Karen Reed and going to the Supremes. Ooh, baby. Yes. They're not going to have no trial in January. First of all, what lawyer in his right mind, wait a minute, excuse me, that was an oxymoron. What lawyer steps into the case who is going to start over and will try it in January, and he's just now asked to come on? Hello. Johnny Depp, I'm seeing all this Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp lives in a haunted place in LA, this castle that he bought from someone from in the 30s. Johnny's got some cool ideas. Anyway, there's no lawyer first that is going to be doing that, period. None. I do not see them having this in January. March keeps coming up. If they have one, let's keep in mind now, all right? Before everybody gets upset, somebody got upset with me yesterday. And I said, but the CW has the burden of proof, and they've lost almost all of their witnesses. And the rest that's left, it ain't credible. And the only one that hasn't gone through any type of something or other is Trooper Paul, who is the crime scene whisperer, who is about as worthless as, I don't know, in my opinion. So there we are. I'm pulling a card for this week. You're going to see all of these things. Oh, and someone also told me, hold on, Mystery's got something I want to read here. Farwell under federal indictment and Proctor and Kevin Albert being suspended is the beginning. Oh yeah, that's right. Our forever wonderful boys has 20-year investigation on Canton and Stoughton. PD, Alberts and Morrissey indictments next. Listen, indict the whole lot. Go get them. Here, I'll make you a cake, feds. Here, you want some snacks? I'll give them to you. Go get them. That's how I feel. Just flipping well, get them out. I mean, how do we feel safe? Think of our justice system. How do we feel safe? And these officers are making $200,000-$300,000 a year, and there's only 45 officers in Canton PD. Something smelly. So there we are. I'm going to give a card here for all of you, and thank you. How many likes do we have? Give me a second. Hold on, because the likes are really, really important to me. And how many? We have what? We have 87 likes. What? Oh my gosh, you guys are fantastic. All right, here we are. And then I'm going to tell you the highlight of my week. And then I'm going to go make cornbread. I'm going to bring, here's a card for this coming week. Now you're going to see it before I do. What is this card? It's going to tell us not about our personal selves, but it's going to tell us how this week is going to go with all these high-profile cases, because we've got about another month, and then the courts are going to start slowing down. But they're still going to give us a lot to talk about. Here we are. Here's the card. Ready? You're going to see it before me. Oh, yeah. This is a benevolent hand, this Ace of Pentacles coming out of the heavens and the cosmic unknown. This Ace of Pentacles is here basically saying not only is it money, but I like to look at this as timing. And you know what this other card in the House of Zelda's basically shared with us, the last card. It's all about timing. That's what those aces really mean. Now there's money involved, and that money is for these poor residents, the taxpayers of Massachusetts, paying for, I'm going to tell you, this guy ain't cheap. I mean, you're probably looking at another $1 million. Who's paying the bill? Who is paying the bill? There's some cards that fell on the floor, and you want to, I'm going to show you this one. I'm seeing this one. Sorry, everybody. I just dipped out of focus there. You want to see what card? Look at this. Look at this. Ready? You know who this is? That's Uncle Brian, the Hermit, and the Virgo. So I think we're going to hear something about Uncle Brian. I think we're going to hear this from Sean D.E.A. Daddy. Now I'm going to tell you one more thing. And if he is listening or watching, you know, I was honored to read cards for microdots this past week. Y'all know microdots. If you don't, then I'm going to leave a link in the description. You need to be following him because he is, I told him, he's the top dot. He's the top dot daddy. When it comes to these things, hello. He is the top. And I was just honored. I, of course, can't tell you what I told him, but I will tell you that I hope I get to read for him again. And with me being Zelda, If I could figure out how I could buy Karen Reed's case and ask Turtle Boy to move in and live there for free, that would set some hearts on fire. One more card for you, my darlings, and this is it. Ready? Oh my gosh. Now you saw I am shuffling. You saw, oh my goodness, I couldn't have done that. Did you like that surprised look on my face? Yeah, see, I still get amazed. The Ace of Pentacles. So my darling, we're going to hear this week about the monies, money and monies. And we are going to hear this week about something about Brian Albert. Be patient. Be patient. These things will come. Be patient. Jen, oh, yay! Karen's house is pending. Isn't that wonderful news? Good. Fantastic. Wonderful. Fantastic. I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you for sharing that, Jerry. Oh, my goodness. I love it. So anyway, until we meet again next Saturday, be safe, be watchmen, and be a Zeldinator, because I love each and every one of you, and I want to thank you so much for being here, and I want to thank you for everything that you do for this channel. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and I will see you again very soon. Bye for now.